Unit 2, Teen Life. We are going to study the simple present tense. The simple present tense. We use the present simple to describe permanent situation. For example, we live in Istanbul. We can use the simple present tense for general truths in science and geographical descriptions and others. Look at the example, please. Water freezes at 0 degrees. The moon moves around the earth. The sun sets in the west. We can use this tense to describe repeated actions or habits. Look at the examples, please. He brushes his teeth twice a day. They go to school every day. He wakes up at 7 o'clock. Meanwhile, we use the simple present tense to talk about opinions, likes and dislikes, hates, love and feelings. For example, she likes making a snowman. He loves eating spinach. Now, let's study prefer and would rather. We use prefer and would rather to express preferences. Prefer doing something. Sam prefers reading a book to watching television. She has got a lot of books. Peter prefers driving to traveling by train. He always drives to work. Sally prefers living in the city to living in the country. She likes going shopping, eating out, meeting people. Andrew prefers skiing to swimming. He goes to the mountains every month. Maggie prefers living in a house to living in a flat. She has a nice garden with beautiful plants and flowers. David prefers eating at home to going to a restaurant. His mother cooks delicious food. Now, we are going to study would rather. Would rather do something. I would rather eat a cold sandwich. Or if you want, you can say, I'd rather eat a cold sandwich. Would rather do something than something else. Tracy's friends invited her to the cinema. However, she is very tired. She would rather stay at home than go to the cinema. I don't want to watch TV tonight. I'd rather read a book than watch TV. I'd rather telephone than send an email. I'd rather eat healthy food than junk food. Forms of the present tense. Positive sentence form, negative sentence form, positive question sentence form, and negative question sentence form. We use subject and then verb 1 and then object. Look at the example, please. I drink milk. I drink milk. You drink milk. She drinks milk. He drinks milk. It drinks milk. We drink milk. You drink milk. They drink milk. After he, she, and it, we use s after the verb in positive sentence form. Look at the negative sentence form, please. After the subject pronoun, we use don't or doesn't and then verb 1 and then object. I do not drink milk or I don't drink milk. I don't work. You don't work. She doesn't work. He doesn't work. It doesn't work. We don't work. You don't work. They don't work. While we are making a negative sentence, after I, you, we, they, we use don't and then verb 1. After he, she, it, we use doesn't and then verb 1 again. Now let's look at the positive question sentence form. We start the sentence with do or does as a helping verb, and then subject pronoun, and then verb 1 and object. Do you drink milk? Look at the table, please. Do I work? Do you work? Does she work? Does he work? Does it work? Do we work? Do you work? Do they work? Does he work as a doctor? Yes, he works as a doctor. No, he doesn't work as a doctor. He works as a taxi driver. Negative question sentence form. If you want, you can ask your questions in negative question sentence form. So you start the sentence with don't or doesn't. And then we use subject pronoun and then verb 1 and object. Don't you drink milk? Doesn't he drink milk? Look at the table, please. Don't I work? Don't you work? Doesn't she work? Doesn't he work? Doesn't it work? Don't we work? Don't you work? Don't they work? Don't they speak English? Doesn't he wear a raincoat? Contractions. Do not, don't. Does not, doesn't. Now we are going to study adverbs of frequency. Always, usually, often, sometimes, never. Look at the time expressions, please. We use these time expressions very often in the simple present tense. Always, usually, often, sometimes, and never. I always wash my face in the morning. After the subject pronoun, we can use these frequency adverbs: always, usually, often, sometimes, and never. We generally use these time expressions between the subject pronoun and verb. I always have breakfast after I have a shower. I always go jogging before I have dinner. I always brush my teeth before I go to bed. I usually watch TV after I do my homework. I sometimes cook a meal after I go shopping. I always wash my face in the morning. He usually has breakfast at 7:15. I always ride my bike to school. He usually rides his bike to school. She sometimes rides her bike to school. They never ride their bikes to school. They always walk. What do firefighters usually do? We usually fight fires. What do pilots usually do? They usually fly aeroplanes. What do bakers usually do? They usually make bread. What do farmers usually do? They usually grow vegetables. What do postmen usually do? They usually deliver letters. Now we are going to study how often. How often is a question word. When we want to answer the questions with how often, we use frequency adverbs. How often does he go to the cinema? He goes to the cinema every Sunday. How often does he visit his grandfather? He visits his grandfather every Monday. How often does he tidy his room? He tidies his room every Tuesday. How often does he wash the car? He washes the car every Wednesday. WH questions. Now we can repeat days of the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. When does Karen go to the gym? She goes to the gym at 5:30 on Wednesdays. What time does Karen drive her children to school on Tuesdays? She drives her children to school at 9:15. What does she do every Monday at 3:30? She washes her car. What time does she cook dinner on Thursdays? At 8 o'clock. She cooks dinner at 8 o'clock on Thursdays. She watches her favorite TV program. What does she do every Saturday at 9:30? This is the question sentence of the answer. Where does she meet her friends on Fridays? She meets them at Roberto's cafe. When does she play tennis? She plays tennis every Sunday at 11:30. How do you get to work? My husband and I drive to work. How do you get to work? I take a taxi to work. How do you get to school? My sister and I take the bus to school. How do you get to school? I ride my bike to school. How do they get to work? They drive. Where do they live? They live in Brighton. Where do they work? They work in Luton. How do they get to work? They walk. We finished the grammar subjects of Unit 2. Thank you for listening to me.